Hello, everyone, and welcome to the JRPG Report. This is our Sunday special, and it's going to be episode 24. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We are talking with Patrick, and he is joining us. Are you joining us from Germany? Is that correct?
Yes, Germany, exactly.
Very good. We're an international podcast, so we love having people outside the U.S. on the show. And so it is my understanding, sir, you have a new game that, as people listen to this podcast starting on Sunday, it'll already be released. Why don't you tell us about yourself and about this new game you got coming out?
Yeah, sure. So the game is called Level 99 Final Fortress. It's a JRPG that comes with a twist because it actually starts in the final dungeon, hence the name. And you go into the final dungeon with a party of three heroines, fully equipped with what seems like end game gear. And you venture into this final fortress where two ancient guards are held captive. But are about to break free, so you have to defeat them before that happens. And on your way through the fortress, you fight a bunch of other bosses and find even better equipment, which grants you new abilities. And you also solve puzzles and collect quest items, stuff like that.
That's awesome. So you're kind of skipping all the boring stuff and just getting to the good bits.
Yeah, exactly. That's the punchline.
That's awesome. We'll talk a little bit more about the game, but first off, why don't you tell the folks about yourself a little bit if you don't care?
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Patrick. I'm 32 years old. I'm from Germany, and I'm currently working as a marketing manager at a small company. And well, in my spare time, I create games, and I also write novels. And I'm active as a musician in two bands as well. Well, what else? My favorite games are Illusion of Gaia and Terranigma, and I'm a cat person.
You're going to get a lot of fans by mentioning Illusion of Gaia. That is, we've talked about that Super Nintendo classic a few times on the podcast.
Awesome.
It's got a near dear place in my heart. Did you see? I think recently somebody actually made an up-res version of that game. Did you ever see that online?
No, I didn't.
I'd actually tell you to kind of shy away from it because for me it's such a sacred game, and I didn't like what I saw. Actually, I think the original actually looked a little bit better, but that's just my opinion. Well, that's fantastic. You're a cat person, so we have that in common as well.
Awesome.
And I like how you mentioned that in your spare time you like doing all these things. That doesn't sound like you have a lot of spare time if you're doing all those activities.
Not anymore then, because after doing all these things, you barely have any spare time, actually.
Absolutely. Well, that's fantastic. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Which is sad, because I actually like playing games as well, and well, I don't have much time to do that, unfortunately. And JRPGs are, pretty long games on the average, so, well, can't play many of them.
No, they kind of take up a bulk of your time. Just speaking personally, I just finished Persona 5 Royal, and it was another 120 hours of great gameplay.
Oh, yeah. I'm currently playing Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition on Switch.
I just got done with that one. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, pretty much. I have actually played it on the 3DS as well. And so it was pretty great to go back to, the world of that game.
I was one of the ones that actually had not played it previously, so I was really looking forward to it. I was a huge fan of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Switch, so it was really cool to go back and play the first one for me.
Yeah, I noticed that I appreciated the story even more the second playthrough, because how things, how they go together, and why certain events make sense to have them presented just like they are presented.
Oh, absolutely. And I've talked about it with a couple of people, still trying to kind of get that whole story together. It's a big overarching story that's hard to kind of piece together.
Yes. But it's much easier in the second playthrough, and then you can really appreciate it, because the story is, in my opinion, just perfect.
It is. It was a phenomenal game. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and it looked awesome on the Switch, especially compared to the way it did on the Wii first time.
Yeah.
Well, that's enough about these other games. We don't want to talk about that too much. So,
No.
Level 99 Final Fortress. Like I said, people can actually play that right now if they want to. That's on Steam, and so is it on sale right now as well for people who buy it early?
Yeah, it's on a 40% release sale, actually.
Okay, and what is so normally it's what I think in American it's $8.99, and then you've got it down. I was just like, it's down to $5.39, so that's an extremely good deal for people who want to get on that early.
Yes.
So do you kind of put that as that? Did you market at that price point because it maybe is a shorter game?
Well, it is a somewhat shorter game. I'd say you take about 5 hours to get through it. And yeah, I think the price is reasonable for that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Does it have kind of some replay value as well?
I hope so, because those items I mentioned that grant you new abilities with synergetic effects between them, you can combine them in any way and find them actually in any order you want. So yeah, you can go a totally different path on your second playthrough.
That's fantastic. Yeah, us JRPGers, we even on the long games, we like to play them through several times. So I think people would get a kick out of wanting to play this one a second time through at least.
I hope so.
But this is
not enough to do that, I think.
Absolutely. But this is not your first game. You've made at least one previous game. Is that right?
Two previous games, which are a bit connected, because the second game is actually a remake of the first game. Should I go on and talk about it?
Yeah. Go ahead and tell the people about it. Maybe they'll want to pick up both of them. So.
Yeah, so the first game is actually available for free. So you only have to pick up the second one then, and the third one, of course. So the first one was Game Master. It was my first serious project on RPG Maker. I've been tinkering with RPG Maker since I was about 12 or maybe 13. And many people do that, many people in the community have a lot of ideas, but not the discipline to actually develop a full game. So that takes a lot of time and effort. And eventually I started organizing my life and my creative activities with a to-do list, which is somewhat holy to me, so to speak. So I follow it without any excuses. And it helped a lot getting a project done, of course. So Game Master was released in December 2014. And as I said, it's free. You can download it on my website, greatpotiongames.com. And
that's fantastic.
Excuse me?
I was going to say, it sounds like you actually approached it more like a project you would at work rather than just a pastime.
Yeah, you kind of need to do that, I think, because otherwise you take too much time thinking about, other possibilities. And then the next thing you thought about looks a lot more interesting to you. And then you abandon the project again. I think many people, do it that way. They start a project and they have just started and then already they abandon it because they don't stick to it via a to-do list, for example.
Oh yeah, I think that goes to every aspect of life, like you said. Like start a project and you get halfway through and you become interested in something else and it forgets about it, and then you've got a shed full of unfinished projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm glad you stuck to it and actually got these games out there. But so then the remaster, what was different between the original and then this the Game Master Plus?
Yeah, I always talk about Game Master Plus as an expanded and streamlined remake. So the history of it is actually not uninteresting, I'd say. So when I finished Game Master, I was actually playing a lot of Diablo and Hearthstone. Okay. And I became somewhat obsessed with the idea of releasing an expansion for Game Master. And I actually started working on it. And then in summer 2015, the next RPG Maker installment was announced, and I was pretty hyped, naturally. So the previous RPG Maker, which I was developing this Game Master expansion on, felt kind of outdated all of a sudden. So the development of Game Master 1.1 felt kind of weird, you know?
Yeah.
It wasn't very motivating because you had this new tool that you wanted to play with. And so I decided to actually remake the whole game in the new editor with new graphics and everything. And I revised quite a few things, removed some elements, added new ones. And yeah, and then in January 2019, the game was released on Steam, Game Master Plus.
That's incredible. It kind of sounds like what some of the developers did. Let's say if you will go back to some of the earlier Dragon Quest titles that were released on the Nintendo and then come out on the DS or the 3DS.
Yeah.
Same game, but completely changed and enhanced to take care of new hardware.
Yeah, that's true.
And
It's like that. Yeah.
so this, so you talked that you've been playing on RPG Maker since you were about 12, so about 20 years.
Yeah, actually, yes.
You had to think about that one for a second, right?
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of, time where I didn't work with it that, seriously. It's just a lot of little projects that I started and then abandoned very quickly. But I've been in the community, so to speak, following the forums and checking if a new installment is on the horizon every now and then, things like that.
A new installment like RPG Maker MV, perhaps?
Yes, RPG Maker MV, or even the new one, MZ or MZ. I think it's MZ, actually.
Okay. I'm not sure how to pronounce it yet, so it's probably and it kind of looks like it's going to just you may have to do this again with level 99, right? Redo it on the new system that's coming out.
I could do that, or I could also try to have a new project on that installment of RPG Maker, which is what I'm about to do.
I was going to say, is that a little foreshadowing? Is that the next idea? Is your a completely new game?
Yeah. So, I'm super hyped for RPG Maker MZ, and I especially like it because of the built-in ATB battle system.
Oh, yes.
Like the agility stat is something that is rather useless in the normal turn-based battle systems, because it only grants you initiative, but it doesn't grant you more actions in a set amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
So with an ATB system, you can actually do a lot more things with buffs and debuffs concerning the agility stat. And that's something I experiment with.
It sounds like, one of the first influences I kind of felt like when I looked at level 99 Final Fortress was kind of Final Fantasy IV. And so you're saying like adding this ATB, you're really going to be able to realize that vision perhaps.
It's definitely a bit different, but I prefer the ATB system over the normal turn-based system where every character has one turn and then they start over the next row of turns, so to speak, That's kind of boring because of the agility stat, which doesn't do much.
No, you're absolutely correct. I like it both ways. Like a game like Persona 5, I like that it's just turn-based and it works out well for that game. But yeah, an ATB bar just adds so much more strategy and the need to make quick decisions. You can't just lull over it for an hour.
Yeah, but I would actually use the ATB system in RPG Maker MZ with a weight variety, where you actually, if your bar is filled up, nothing else is happening. So you don't have to choose your commands quickly or anything like that. It's just that a quick character has more actions than other characters, and you can delay the actions of enemies and stuff like that.
I see. So it's kind of like freezes the action so you can make those choices.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that idea. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what Final Fantasy IX, for example, did. I actually prefer to the ATB, the CTB from Final Fantasy X, which gets rid of that gauge that fills up and actually just displays the turn order. Like a bit like in level 99, where the turn order is displayed in the upper right corner of the screen, so you can see which character goes when. Yeah. But it's still like a normal turn-based system in level 99, where each character has one action per battle turn.
Yeah, you mentioned a battle order. That is one of my things I prefer, whether it's like you said Final Fantasy X or like Trails of Cold Steel, those series that have that order, so you can really make strategy and your upcoming move is as important as your current move.
Yes. And you can do things like Rapid Strike, I think it is, where Tidus can act more often in a set amount of time, and you can actually see it like reflected in the turn order displayed on the screen.
Oh yeah, his picture his picture would be up there about 4 or 5 times to everybody else's.
Yeah, exactly. And I really like that. That's unfortunately not what would be possible in RPG Maker MZ from the get-go, maybe with plugins. But the ATB should be good enough. It looks a bit more action like, if there's a gauge filling up, even though the enemies can't attack while you're choosing your command. So there isn't actually that kind of, what is the word? You don't have to make quick decisions, but it looks a bit like it.
It just kind of has the feel and look of it rather than actually being that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is actually oftentimes enough for the player to have a certain feeling, and that's actually enough for the creator of the game to convey that feeling.
So as a creator, how long would you say it actually took to make level 99 from start planning to actual release date a couple days ago?
Yeah, longer than expected, actually. So after I was done with Game Master Plus, I almost immediately started planning level 99, and I thought it would actually be a little more laid back, because Game Master Plus was a massive project. It's 10 hours long or even longer if you take your time. And it has 3 classes, so that makes it about 30 hours of content, actually. And I thought, that was cool, but let's not do that again right now. So I thought I would do a smaller project. But actually, in a smaller project, you can still run into problems that you have to address. And, if you have a smaller game, then everything needs to work perfectly together.
Oh, so,
even more than in a longer game, actually.
So your small project turned into something much more bigger than your previous ones.
It's not bigger than Game Master Plus, but it took almost the same amount of time, because I had to actually you have to so if a shorter game is focused on battle mechanics like level 99, you actually have to make that thing really good. So I thought battle mechanics, that's the stuff I really enjoy. Like story is all well, but I'm not that much of a story guy myself.
Okay.
So I like stories in JRPGs, of course, and I appreciate the epic story in Xenoblade, but that's not what I start with. I really, if I have an idea for a game, it's not the story that I want to tell. It's like the battle mechanics and how the characters work in battle that I enjoy planning the most. So, So I thought level 99 would be exactly that, a game focused on battles, and it would be pretty easy to get a kind of, interesting battle system going and have interesting skills and equipment items. And I ended up reworking the battle mechanics twice. I changed the art style to something that required additional work. I implemented more elements, such as little puzzles and collectibles. And so it took about 1.5 years.
Okay. Wow. I guess that's probably what I had in my mind. And especially, I mean, you're doing pretty much everything by yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No help whatsoever, no outsourcing. You didn't have the budget for that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do have the editor and you do have like some basic graphics. But as I said, I worked pretty much on the graphics and tweaked them to my liking. And I had to write the music myself and, well, all the elements in there as far as the battle is concerned. It takes a lot of time doing all of that. It adds up quickly.
Oh yes, I can sympathize. My real job, is video editing, and to make a 1-minute commercial will take way longer than an hour's worth of programming. It's just the small tedious things where every second has to be done just right. That takes forever to do.
Yeah, I can tell. I actually started working with video for this game. I made the trailer myself in, I don't know if you know DaVinci Resolve.
Yes, that is one of the programs that I've used, yes.
Yeah, I started working with that, and, well, it's you can get the basic things, you can learn them rather quickly, I'd say, but if you want to make something good, or worthwhile, it takes a lot of time, and there are many functions in that software that I don't even understand. So yeah, you can really get deep into that kind of stuff, I know.
Yeah, DaVinci is actually for a free program, it is beyond very good, and you wouldn't use half that stuff that's in there in a real world setting. I don't know why they're even in there. But yeah, I mean, any of the professional stuff is going to be on Adobe Premiere, so that's a lot of money, so I understand.
Yeah.
I meant to say we've got the trailer and it looks really good, so I can tell that you put.
Thank you.
As I said, as an editor, I know exactly how much work went into just making that on its own.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
No problem. So, how long is this game going to be on sale for people to pick up?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think there's a standard amount of time that Steam does this release sale for, but I don't have it in my mind right now.
Okay.
So better buy it now.
Yeah, don't wait. Just go get it now. Right?
Yeah.
Or do you have any plans, or maybe in the future, to actually bring these games onto consoles in any stretch, or is it just going to be on Steam?
Yeah, I would love to. I had a comment just today, I think, on Instagram where someone was asking if this game is available on the eShop of Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think I saw some company which was trying to bring indie games on the eShop in a way that is easy for the developer, but I haven't looked into it yet. So, but I would love to do that because I'm a huge Nintendo fan, always have been, and it would be a dream come true, to have your game on the Nintendo eShop.
That would be, I mean, you're just speaking to that much more exposure too of gamers that would be able to play your game.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
And as you also know, the Nintendo Switch is full of, I mean, I've never seen so many bad games as if you go to the eShop. So it could use a good game like yours in there too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I will look into that possibility.
I don't see why they would. If you could get it to the right person, why they couldn't get it on there, right?
Yeah, I don't know much about the process though, so no idea how that works actually to get it approved by. I don't know, Nintendo themselves probably, or some... I don't know how it works.
You need that official Nintendo stamp like they used to put on the NES games, right?
Yeah.
So I know you're excited about your own games, but there was one or two that you want to talk about, some other RPG Maker games that are out there that you enjoy maybe, or stuff that other people could check out.
Yes. So RPG Maker, I think, has kind of a bad name to many people. And that is because, well, many people only see the RPG Maker games that are quickly put together by people that are new to the engine and to the community, and which naturally tend to lack a bit in quality then. So I would like to highlight a few RPG Maker gems that showcase what the editor is actually capable of.
Okay.
So there's one game that I absolutely love. I've actually played it twice now, even though it's an RPG Maker game and I don't have much time. So that's telling you something.
Yes.
And it's Star Stealing Prince. It's it's a beautifully made game in terms of graphics. There are hand-drawn character portraits. It looks very professional, and the writing is very professional as well. The story is very sad and moving. It has like this melancholic atmosphere all the time. It plays out on an island which is very snowy. Like there's ice everywhere, and it's this somber feeling all the time, you know? So if you like that, you should really check that out. And it has one of the best battle themes that I know. For people who have actually played it or want to play it, there's I think it's an optional boss actually. He's called the Slaughterer, and he has the most kick-ass battle music, you know, or one of the most kick-ass battle musics that I know. You should really look into that.
That sounds really cool. I want to check that out. Like, not all JRPGs need to be bright and cheery.
Yeah, no, do that. And there's another game, Born Under the Rain, which is very good. And The Grumpy Knight is also an example of hidden RPG Maker gem. I would really encourage people to look into these games.
Excellent. I'm sure people will do that. I think, you say RPG Maker, and I think it's like, yeah, that's exciting, and I could mess around with it. But when you talk about actual games, like when you go through Steam, they do, I think more than anything, they just kind of look all the same. And so you need something that actually stands out and gets people's attention.
And Star Stealing Prince definitely does, visually as well as everything else. It has so good music, and as I said, the story is great, and yeah.
Do you think that's because they did their own animations for the characters? That's why it kind of stands out?
Animations, I don't know, but the sprites are, I'm pretty sure, self-made, and the character portraits are hand-drawn, so yeah. There's definitely the maker or the creator of that game is definitely like an artist of some sorts.
That's awesome. Would you say that like RPG Maker is a good way for young aspiring game developers to get into it, and before they get into the expensive equipment in schools and all that?
Yeah, I would say so. I only know RPG Maker actually, so I haven't fiddled around with Game Maker or other engines like that. But I think RPG Maker is pretty easy to get into, which is why we have so many, games that aren't that well made, because you can put a game together very quickly in RPG Maker. It has it has a bit of a learning curve in the beginning, but then you quickly gather all the knowledge you need to make something that works.
Yeah, I've not doubt. I joked one time that I did try. I think it was the very first one on the original PlayStation, and it was great. But I think on the consoles you're kind of limited with what you can and can't do with especially all the words. I mean, you can't type that in with your controller. That'd take years.
Yeah, I never understood why RPG Maker keeps being released on consoles, because I can't imagine working with that, actually.
No, the only thing I can figure is it could be a way to play the games that were made on it.
Yes.
But in terms of actually creating something, that would just, unless you had a keyboard attached to it. Obviously, that would work, but.
That would work, but it would still be difficult to get your custom graphics in there, wouldn't it? I don't know if that's even possible.
No, I doubt it. And yeah, not having your mouse to point and click, that would just be, shoo, no thank you.
Yeah.
So you talked about your plans a little bit for the next game. Is that really everything that you're looking at now is, moving on to the next one and developing another one that's now this one's out?
Yeah, I will continue to support Level 99 Final Fortress, of course, in terms of bug fixes and, maybe balancing issues or whatever pops up. But I won't create an expansion for it or anything like that. I'm just way too hyped for the new RPG Maker installment to really do anything in RPG Maker MV, which is the previous one. Right now, so yeah, that's that.
That's what I thought that you were getting at. So I'm glad you put that. So you mentioned Illusion of Gaia. What were some of the other games growing up that kind of inspired you to want to make your own games?
Terranigma, of course. If you play Illusion of Gaia, you should definitely play Terranigma as well.
Okay.
Well, other than that, as I said, I grew up with Nintendo and starting fittingly with Super Mario Brothers. So yes. One evening, my father got the console out and started playing that game, and for 2 years or so, I was just watching him play. For example, he played Kid Icarus. Yes. While my mother drew the dungeon maps, on a sheet of paper.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That was quite, a family event, actually. Each evening or every evening, we used to play Kid Icarus. And then later, I got a Super Nintendo for Christmas. And that's when I came in touch with RPGs. So I loved Illusion of Gaia, of course, Terranigma, Secret of Mana, Lufia, things like that. And I also loved Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64 then,
of course,
which I think can be seen in the world design of Game Master and Game Master Plus, which, they have a rather small set of places, which are hopefully memorable because you revisit them a lot. And it includes a lot of puzzles and almost no NPCs that are, generic. So almost everyone has a name and a somewhat defined personality. And I think that's something that adventure games like Zelda just have to do well, right? So the world comes alive and you actually remember who to bring which item to and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that would be my main influences, like Super Nintendo RPGs and Ocarina of Time.
Well, those are very good influences, and you definitely scored some brownie points with this crowd. Mentioned Lufia and, of course, Secret of Mana, some of the all-time classics, for sure. So is there anything that you want to add? I'm out of questions, so if there's anything you want to add or one final pitch that you want to get people to go out there and get level 99, go for it.
Yeah. Well, okay. Level 99 is currently available on Steam at a 40% release sale, which I, as we talked about, don't know how long it goes. So you should get it right now. If you don't want to get level 99, that's okay. You can also get Game Master Plus or maybe even Game Master, the original, which is for free. So if you want to jump in for free, you can start with that.
That's probably not a terrible idea. People could obviously people like to try things out before putting money down. Check it out, see what they like, and then they can throw a few bucks your way with the other two games, either Game Master Plus or Level 99 Final Fortress. I did look on the website. It does say July 14th is the end for that 40% off. So a couple days.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but $8.99 is still not bad for a game, even at full price, I do believe.
Yes.
Well, awesome.
So yeah, other than that, I could just add that people can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram, of course. So it's Great Potion Games. And I think that's all I could talk about here.
What you say it's Great Potion Games. What is the inspiration behind the name? Is there any?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think it just popped up one day. I don't know. I mean, a potion is a standard item in RPGs, and I actually had this item of the Great Potion in Game Master, which restored more health than the regular potion. And I don't know. That's on the same. At the same time, it's kind of basic, but also sounds a bit epic because of the great in front of the potion. So I don't know. I think it's cool.
I agree. It's much better than like good potion or like mediocre potion. That doesn't quite sound as good. Very good. Well, thank you so much, Patrick, for coming on the JRPG Report. We appreciate you spreading the knowledge, and hopefully everybody goes out and picks up your game and lets you know how they love it.
Yeah, it was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Well, that's it, guys, for the podcast. We do thank Patrick for coming on. And don't forget, tune in every Wednesday for our regular podcast and Sundays for our Sunday special. Patrick, we do have an ending to every Sunday special and the Wednesdays as well. We tell people to get back out there and level up. So could you tell the people to do that?
Yeah, guys, get out there and level up.